I'm hoping for a little bit of a spring weather to hit here soon. So, given tomorrow's weather prognosis, I'm kind of in a good mood right now. How
Ah,
about you, Jan?
well, it hit us here in the Netherlands today, so we had like 23, 24 degrees today, so it was
Oh,
warm.
and here I'm hoping for just above 10 degrees.
Ah, yeah, that we had for almost all winter. So yeah. Ah, but today we're back after a long pause, but also because it is Wikidata Leveling Up Days. So there's our event that is going on yesterday, today, and tomorrow, and then also Friday to Sunday next weekend. So these are meant as leveling up can have many meanings. I think it's like getting to your next level, but I think here it's really to get to your first level. So we're gonna do it pretty basic today. So what do you have in mind? What are you gonna try to do?
I want to do some like basic querying and kind of show also that you can do queries to improve data. So first I want to query for glacier researchers just by, hey, I want researchers who have this topic of glaciology. But then I want to go a different route and query a researcher by their papers
Hmm.
and see if we can use the result from that query to improve the results of the object query. So that's my intent today. What's yours?
So I'm gonna do also very basic editing. I'm gonna create uh, an item about a person from scratch using no tools. So very much into the regular interface and do some editing. And I'm gonna do edit. I'm having an evening course right now in climate leadership, and one of the author of this book doesn't have a Wikidata item yet, and I'm going to use this
Ah,
one as a source on Wikipedia. Already planned a few things that I'm going to add, and then I'm going to add a template that fetches the data from Wikidata, and then of course it's nice if we have the items for the persons there.
all right. And
So
we will also be back next weekend, right? We already know that.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So we're going to be back on the 13th of April, Saturday, same time, same place. I see we have quite a lot of people already in our chat. We're going to try to keep an eye on the chat as well, because we want you to interact with us, ask questions if we're going too fast for anything, or if we're doing something that you wonder why are you doing this, or if you disagree with our way of modeling, because not everything uh, is easy even for people who have done it for a long time, and some things are actually possible to do in multiple different ways. So we're still ironing out the wrinkles on Wikidata.
Indeed. So it can be everything from, please, Albin John, you need to zoom in more, to, hey,
Yes.
how does this actually work?
Yeah. All right. But let's get into it then.
Yeah.
So here is first. This is the item for the book that that I created last week already, and this is for the edition. Uh, and we're gonna see here when I scroll down, and I think there's not much to do on this because I've edited quite a lot, but we see here we have two different. So we have one uh, item for one of the authors, but for the other one there's only an author name string. Now there are certain tools and scripts that help you do this, but in this session that checks specifically for this one. But here I'm actually going to try to do this totally manually. So we're going to create an always it's good to do a search, see if you find anything. And of course, here's the book. And then I think there's a lot of papers that this scientist already have made. But I can't find anything specific for the person. So we're going to go create a new item. And creating a new item, you find a lot of useful links in your left handbar. And if you have the new version of the interface, this other skin, it looks a little bit different. But I'm still on the old here. So I'm gonna click to create a new item, and we're gonna add here Simon Matti, Swedish scientist, Swedish professor even. There we go. So we'll start with that. And now we have an item. And of course I can add more up here in the, this is called the term box, but basically it holds a little bit of text about them in different languages. And I have set my interface to use English and Swedish because those are the ones I'm most comfortable with. So I'm gonna press this edit button. So on Wikipedia we have edit buttons over here, but on Wikidata we have one for these, and then we're gonna see edit buttons next to each of the statements. And I'm gonna just copy this one into Swedish, and add a description in Swedish as well, just a little bit easier. And this one will probably be used in this source later on Wikipedia when I add the book as a source. And now, when you use the basic interface, this is really the add statement is your friend. That's where you're gonna go. And luckily, when you edit, there's a sort of some statistics that suggest what you should do. And if you create a human, often the first suggestions are really good because there are a lot of humans in Wikidata, so there's a lot of statistics to draw from. Oh, here's a very good question here. Do you add to the also known last list is.matti? I might do that later if I see that that is the thing that is used in the papers, because that will be something that people will copy and paste and try to search for. So that I'm definitely gonna do later if I see that that is the term. So very good question there. So instance of, and then also the values pop up as suggestions. So very easy here. I just had to click the first suggestion for instance of, and the first suggestion for human. And often we want to add sources to things, but this basic that it is a human, I don't think someone is gonna challenge that, so I'm not gonna try to find it. Also quite hard often to find a specific explicit reference, many implicit that, oh, you can only have this if you are a human. So but there's very rarely it says something like in another database that this is a human. Of course,
Now
Wikidata.
someone in the chat must make a query for people who are professors or things that are professors but not humans in
Yes.
Wikidata.
Probably a lot of them. No, not a lot,
Yeah,
but a
that's
few.
surprisingly a lot.
Yes.
Like fictional people, at
Yeah.
least. I want to jump in here quickly on
Yes.
because people might notice when you and I are editing, we have like things they might not recognize in the UI. Like
Mm-hmm.
we got this green arrow for you, for example, or
Yes.
I think when you hover over things, you get more information
Yes.
and things
Not
like
not.
this.
Yeah.
This is like user scripts, they are super useful. But there is actually a session on that tomorrow, I
Mm-hmm.
believe. So I would just really recommend people check that out
Yeah.
and not care about them for now.
Yes. And I actually turned off all user scripts today, just for this session. So all the things I have are the things that you can find under preferences in gadgets. And I'm actually going to show you one or two of those if we have the time that I'm actually going to be using now in a bit.
And this is lovely for me as well because I got really jealous of those pop ups when you hover over things.
Yes. And the next one we get here is sex or gender. And I happen to know that this is a male. So we're going to see if we get a suggestion for that. There we go. And now let's see what occupation. And now I'm actually gonna see. So here is the page on the university about him. So he's a professor of political science. I guess we can say occupation professor. Maybe that's is a office held. I'll start with a professor,
That's a
teacher,
good
professor.
question. Oh, it said title there, so maybe it's just.
Yeah, and one of the nice things here with Wikidata that if you do something wrong, you can fix it. And one of the things that are very easy to do when you have this green arrow is to move it to another property, move the value. So those are very handy. So this is I think it's called the move claim gadget. And let's see, given name. So I'm pretty sure there's going to be something for Simon here. Peter. Why is Peter first? When I write Simon Peter, all right. And I would be surprised if Matti is not in here either. Let's go with family name. Now I'll go before Matti. No, not the given name. We want the family name here. So, so you could be called Matti, of course. All right, so here's some very basic data, but still, this is not very discernible to see, like, there could be several of these. So we want to be, did we have a date of birth here? I don't think we had.
We got several suggestions in the chat here about this professor being an occupation or a position held. There seems to be a little bit about the consensus in a
Political
different pattern.
scientist would be better. Position held professor. University teacher, all right. There's a lot of occupation academic where.
I like this approach.
All right, let's go with academic then. So here we can directly see here how you can change some things, because now first we just added some things, but you can always go in and edit these as well. So let's see if we can find an academic person who works at, yes, all right, so that's good. And then we're gonna add a position held later.
Would you add position held to the occupation?
No, I think position held would not be what is called a qualifier.
Right.
I'm not sure of the country of citizenship. I would be 99% that it is Swedish, but I'm not totally sure. But I am sure that he speaks Swedish because I have heard him speak. So we can add Swedish there. And I'm also sure that he writes English because I read his papers in English. So there we go. And I see what else do we have here in the chat now. We need to do a little bit of a zoom, I think, to see on this distance. All right, so here we see I add position held as a qualifier to the institution he is employed by. Yes, and we have had a discussion, and I think that was almost in our last or second to last stream when we did this check where employer versus occupation, how that was modeled.
Yeah.
But we didn't check the position held.
This is interesting. It's exactly the same modeling question.
Yes.
As we had then.
Yeah. But we know then, because we have it here, that he's employed by, so that we for sure can add Luleå University. So let's go with that. No, not employ. employer.
I'm just gonna
University of
jump in and
Technology.
reply to Nikki here. Took down my sound a little bit. I'm
Uh-huh.
aiming to be similar to Jan here, but tell me if I need to go
All right.
up or down again.
So is that better? I was having the mic a little bit uh, aimed the wrong way, I think. I sound louder in my own ears now when I aimed it the right way. But please let us know if we're not making sense. All right, better.
Oh,
Great.
thanks.
And now I'm gonna actually add this as a source, and I'm also gonna check. Did we have dates here? Oh, we do have Master of Science, Political Science, PhD. All right, but not dates for starting here. But these are also things that we can add for education. But I think there might have been dates here. Yes. So here we have a starting date. Uh, for the employment. So we can use, I'm going to remove this so you see. So for all the other ones, I just skipped through it because I didn't have anything to add. But here you can see underneath here, you can also add a qualifier, which sort of like gives you an opportunity to add more, say more things about this. And here we can say start time for this. And hopefully my copy paste works. Yes, very nice. And then I can add a reference. And now this was stated in the ORCID ID. So I think we can do ORCID ID here and add the ORCID ID. And then we're also going to add it as a main value. Like this. And then we want to add the retrieved. And here you're going to see now when it pops in here. This is a gadget that I activated, so I'm also going to show you this, how to enable this, because that saves you a lot of time not having to add the data all the time. And then with the qualifier and the reference, publish them all in one go. So that's just one edit. You can do them one by one, and you can always go back if you find a source for something and add that as well. But I'm just quickly going to show you now in the preferences here, because this one is one that I use every time that I edit Wikidata, because one of the key things that you want to do, even though I skipped a few here, is add the sources for everything that is a little bit more important or that people want to dig into or maybe question or something. So you want to add sources often. And when we add sources, we usually add the retrieve date. And here is the move claim that gives me this little green button. And we'll see if I get the time to actually use it later. And here is the description that Albin liked, that shows you a little bit thing when you hover over it. But what I'm really like here, scroll, is the current date here in the top here, that automatically adds the date to display while using the property retrieved. So super handy. All right, so now where are we? We're down here. I'm also going to add then as a statement that I just use in the reference, the ORCID ID. And these are, looks like just a string, but we have things in Wikidata that also formats it, so it creates a link over here, and then people can go and check more, read more about this person, and maybe even find other things like, oh, here's the times when he did his PhD. So we have start dates and end dates for that as well. Not here we only have sort of like 2009, but he was even more specific in the ORCID. So let's see if we can add those, because those are very interesting. And here I'm not really sure. I think we have the same opportunities here that we can model these in two ways. So I think we can do educated at, And then I think we can do degree, but then we cannot do start date and end date unless we do them several times. Or we could do academic degree here. And then we can say Master of Science, start and end date, and then a new value, start date and end date. So there's all these different kinds. And I'm going to give, if someone who's edited a lot of academics have an opinion here in the chat, and I'm going to go with that. I'm leaning towards this one since we have the was it a Master of Science? Yeah, SMC, MMC. Oh, and that also pops up as one of the suggested values, and we can add start date. Oh wait, we only have it for the PhD. We didn't have the start date, so we. And for this we had 2003. All right, so we'll only add the end date with a year then. So not the start, but the end. 2003. And we had a reference for that. And now we will go with reference URL. And here I'm going to paste this one. And here's another gadget. And I'm going to show you this here as well. The cite tool. This one is super handy because it will actually try to find the metadata from that URL. And here we had someone chiming in here before so Daniel is saying, isn't academic degree a qualifier on education? Yeah, it could be. Oh, I've been bold and added a bunch of identifiers. Are we going to have edit conflicts here because I'm not reloading? Don't ruin
Give
my
it a
stream.
reload.
Stream sniped, as they say in the games. No, it's all good. We're building this together. That's super fun. We'll see if we run into something. Yes, so the cite tool makes this possible. So I just drop something in here with reference URL. This little button shows up, and when I press that, it goes there and tries to see, oh, do we have some data? Yes, and this site actually had some data. So it pulled in the title, the language of the work, the publication date, and also the retrieve date for today. So I didn't have to write anything here, just press one little button. That's very nice.
Is the publication date actually correct? Or is it when the site was last updated?
It says updated here, published.
Yeah.
That's a good. And also, what does this publication date mean here? If we have a news article about an ongoing event, like an election, but we have one main article, what would we put in there? When I think we would put in the date, the latest date.
In the publication date?
Yes, because if I put in the other one, then no one would be able to see if something has changed and doesn't fit with what I've put in here. But if I now put in 2nd February, and if they do an update in March, they will understand. Oh,
I buy that. Like, it's actually not the publication date of the page; it's the publication of this version of the source.
Yeah.
Which is the last updated.
And also, it's okay, Nicola. I'm going so slow here, so I don't think I will get there in time. Oh, and there's also a last update. That's also very interesting. Now, this citoid tool gets this by some metadata and magic, and it's, of course, possible to override this and remove this and use last update instead. That might actually be the best. But I'm still pondering here on on, uh, on Daniel's suggestion here. Wouldn't it be better to have it as the qualifier? But if I have it as the qualifier, then I cannot add the end time on it, because that would be the qualifier of the Master of Science. Uh, or are you saying that that is a different education?
Yeah, I would split the education into multiple pieces.
All right.
But it would be interesting with a query here to see what the pattern is across
Yes.
academics.
Yes. But I think I buy it. So I'm gonna cancel out of this and start over. So instead, I'm gonna go with, and what did we say? We said education. Educated at. But that's not what I want to do, I think.
Yeah, I think you would.
But I would like to say political science, and then this qualifier Master of Science.
But wouldn't that be qualifier as well?
Possibly. So I would go Luleå Technical University and add qualifier, and here first end time 2003. And oh yes, all right. This looks good. It would be a Master of Science, and we had academic major here. Very good. And this would be political science. All right. That's very good. And now the reference. How to fill works. Oh no! Now it failed. All right. I still got the retrieve date, so I'm gonna go with this, and we'll see if we get. I had a question here. I see from. Oh yes, and Lydia also answered. All right, so it's the move claim, right? And we're gonna go here, and we're gonna do almost the same now. Then Luleå. I say technical because it's that's in Swedish, but it's University of Technology. And here we had the start time and end time with very high precision from here. So I'm going to copy those. There. End time. In September.
And this is quite an interesting difference from Wikipedia because these were statements from himself, which is actually okay on Wikidata, I believe.
Doctor of Philosophy. Yeah, I think so too. And these are, yeah, there's a tiny risk that people make their CVs a little bit better than they actually are, and we're propagating that. But I think that's a tiny risk.
Yeah, and if it's, I think there have been like obvious cases of that, but then usually a volunteer has gone by and
Yeah.
fixed it.
Yes. So political science there. Show more details, it says. All right. Nothing specific there. And then we're going to add, and now for this reference, we're going to use the ORCID ID again. Because now we didn't get it from his site. So I'm just going to add this string. To there, and retrieved, and you'll see the popped out the date here, and publish. And now
Let's
I'll
give the page a reload, Jan, so we can
yes, and
see.
see what else happened here.
Yeah,
Oh, and look how
and
nice
not to have
we
conflicts.
yes, and we
Yeah.
got some nice YF is of course very good, ISN is very good, Libri is also very good. So now this one is connected, and the last thing I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna go back to this book again, where we had author name string. And so first I'm
Oh,
gonna add Simon Matty here, and I'm gonna add series ordinal 2. And here's a case where you actually cannot move these because these have different types. This is a string and this is an item. So different data types. So I'll publish this first, and then this one, we don't need it. So I'll just remove that because otherwise there will be some tools that are going to suggest people to go, hey, do you want to fix this one? Uh, so there. Now I can use this as a source on Wikidata or Wikipedia using the site Q template. So uh, a little win for my editing in real life next week. So I think that I'm gonna stop there. I could probably go on both to add a lot more on the actual author item, but also to uh, go in and work on Luleå University and yeah. There's so much you can do all the time, and it's always the rabbit's holes, and you find, oh, I can do this, I can do this.
it's quite common that Jan and I we do some live editing here, and then we really want to go to sleep, or at least on my end, and then like, but I have found some rabbit hole while we did live editing, and I just keep going. It happens all the time.
Ah, yes, and I'm also gonna go in here and answer here because Lozana said you could use two dates there when we say both the published and update. So there's these two P577 and P501. So if you use them both, then you're even more clear. So that's of course very smart. You don't need to. Yeah. Yes. All right.
Right. And I'm gonna jump straight into querying very similar data. Um, and first of all, I could just jump into the query service and start writing here, but I want to like very often, especially when I query a new subject, I try to find an item like I want this item to be in my result, and then look at the item and see what can I query for here. How is this model? So I want to get glaciologist. So I'm gonna go to just the item about glaciologist to begin with. But I actually want to query for people. But this is a very underused feature. So instead of writing a query to asking about glaciologists and then look at what their model like, because I might not know what type of statement are being used to begin with. So I'm gonna use this what links here feature. And for items like this that are professional or have a single use case, it's super nice because when I go to what links here, I can assume that there will be a lot of people here. I see that there is also glaciology here, which is fine, but I know that there will be people who I can look at as a reference. So let's pick a very famous one, which might have a lot of data. John Muir, for example, to take possibly the most famous example. And now just look for where can I find that he was a glaciologist. It's under occupation, and I can also see like it could be something similar in the field of work. So let's start by querying for the occupation, like it's done here. And then I might also try the field of work. So I'm gonna delete whatever I have going on here. And I always start a query with a star because before I want to just present the information, I might go with more things here. I just want everything. because if I do something wrong or get some unexpected data, it's much more likely that I will see it if I model it like this. So I want a person, and I want the occupation, and let's see. I did say I wanted a glaciologist. Glaciologist. And I'm just gonna see what this gives me. 200 results. Okay. I assume this is all good, so I'm gonna add a little bit of magic here. Person, and then person label to try to get the label service going here. And let's see, it's always the third one. Okay, and I actually got my example person here. I got 201.
I think you can zoom in a little bit on the Wikidata.
On the Wikidata end, of course.
Yes.
All the way. As I said to Jan earlier when I was zooming in the core service, so that I can see it myself.
Yeah.
Um, okay, so we got 221 results here. And I also thought I might try to query for field of work. I'm quite fond of field of work myself. Um, so field of work, and it's not glaciologist, it's glaciology then. Glaciology. And let's see what we get. We only get 86. So I'm gonna go with occupation. Um, and let's see here. Let's rerun it. There we go. But now I also want to find like people who are glaciologists, but we don't have the occupation or field of work at all. And the way I want to find this are by, instead of querying people, I want to query research works, and then see if any of the contributing researchers are missing this information. So instead of querying for person here, I want to query for papers. And let's see. I'm gonna oh, let's use singular. Okay, so we do no longer want occupation, we want main subject. And I imagine we don't want glaciology here either. We want a glacier or something that is a glacier. Someone might have done a work on. Oh, let's try glaciology
Could
to
be
begin with
glaciology.
as a generic subject.
Yeah. At least a few.
Exactly.
But as you say,
A
this could be
few.
many different ones.
Yeah. Oops. There
And
we
I don't
go.
think you mentioned it, but how do you get these suggestions here?
This one. Yes, I
Yes.
click Control plus space.
Yes. Very good.
So let's give this a go. Oh, we got a bunch of papers here. So let's actually start here and have a look at one. Main subject, glaciology. Do we have any people here? Yes, we do have one. So if I click on this one, it doesn't say anything about his
Hmm.
subject. So that this
Hmm.
is a typical example where we would want to find him so we can, or they. Um, let's just check one more. EPS in glaciology. Uh, we got person here who is a researcher. We got an employer, educated ad with no like field of work. So this is exactly the type of things we're looking for. Um, but we can do this even better, I believe, because we now want the researchers in questions. That's it. And let's. We actually doesn't care about the paper at all, so we're no longer gonna return it up here. We don't. That sounds very negative, but for a use case, we can go like this. Um, yeah, let's start like this. So we got a bunch of people here. One thing that might happen is that someone might have contributed to more than one paper, and then we would get a duplicate here. They would be listed twice because first we check one paper, then we check the next one. So it might be, oh, we found one person here and the same person here, and so on. The super easy way to say any results that are exact duplicates, remove them in SparkL is to add select and then just add the keyword distinct here. It's like a superpower when it comes to SparkL. I always almost add it here. Um, it's more or less my default way of querying. So if I run this, we still get 81 because we didn't have that case. But if you're ever seeing duplicates, that's a nice little trick. Okay, but we can improve this even more because some of this. Do I recognize someone? I do not. Let's try a few ones. Some of this might actually have a field of work or a main subject. None of this. Okay, we can imagine they have that. Then we can actually the best way to find it is to add this query. So we can say minus to filter out things that have a particular statements rather than doing the opposite. So we can reference the person here and then field of work. And we might just say that if they have a field of work, let's filter them out for now. So we can try that. We got 81 results before this. And we lose 10 if we remove that. And we can actually just comment out this particular part to see which are those 10 that have a field of work. So this 11 has a field of work. Let's have a look what it looks like. Maybe it is glaciology. So here we got occupation, geologist, for example, which is usually good enough. Um, glacial geology we got here. So we typical example of this person is already good enough. So let's not work on that. Let's have a look at another one. Geology as well, which is a great example. Many of the people who work on this type of paper will actually have that more generic subject. But this is a nice trick I use all the time when I have a minus filter. Um, just if I actually want to see what am I filtering out, we can add this sharp sign at just twice around it, and we can see what we are removing. Super nice little trick, according to myself. Um, so let's see here if we can actually figure something out. I think it's gonna be really hard if I look at this one. Oh, this is actually a good example. So we have a professor here, which probably means that we can figure out the subject the person is teaching. So I don't want cookies. Cookies are evil.
That was very tiny.
Here it's very tiny. Here we go. No, it's everything is to the side. Okay. Um, Physics and astronomy. It says here. His and here we got the meteorite fall. Let's see, ice sheet retreat, ice-free corridors, erosion. Okay, it seems like he's professor of a little bit more generic subject. Do he also share an external? Yes. Web of Science. Again, reject all cookies. Yeah, here we got his subject categories in a very nice way. Geology, physical geography, science and technology. And let's see. I'm not familiar with this source, but I imagine he added it given it's on org ID. So let's add a few of this. And also,
Yes, very small here too.
oh, it's very small here too. Of course it is.
Yes, here we go. A little bit better.
So let's add field of work here. And I want to add a reference in just a moment, but I want to copy in a few first. Let's see. There we go. I'm basing this a little bit off the various papers I saw as well, as some of those keywords are more generic than the other ones. Oh, that's considered a subfield, okay. Then, or it was a of geography, okay, then it's still relevant here. And I'm gonna go like that. And I'm gonna copy this. Let's see if I actually have that. No. Or let's see here. Did I do everything right here? Reference, reference URL.
Uh huh. No.
I did not. What a great coincidence. Then I can go to my settings and activate it. Let's see here. Gadgets. Let's see.
Quite far down.
Site tool.
Yes.
Amazing. I'm gonna give this a reload. Reference URL. And I think this is it.
Oh, some.
Oh, nice. It got some. It saved me a little bit of time. And now I can do the same here, and it saves me even more time. And if I had some user script here, I could just copy their reference around. But it's almost as quick as just doing it this way. Ah, nice. Um, and the really great thing here is that when I have now added this here, I can write something like my original query to find that data. So I don't need to take this extra step for papers to find people. Um, and if you are like looking to visualize in the query editor or something like that a particular area, it's a great way of trying to figure out what is a different way to query this type of subject I want, because you can usually enrich information that way. I want to do one more person here. Um, so let's see. Do we have? Yes, we got a identifier again. Just one of the many reasons that identifiers are great. You can use them to find more information and sources. Um, let's see here. Ice core debris. Inland thinning of Pride Glacier. More glacier. More glaciology. Okay, there seems to be a obvious focus here on glaciers, so I'm confident that we can add that as a subject or as a field of work in my case. But here's a question. In this case, I actually, it doesn't say glaciology that it's a main subject of this person. I looked at a bunch of papers here and
Mm.
assumed that. Would you just do this as the source, Jan? Or would you model it in a different way?
That's a good question. So you could use uh, Orchid ID and add the idea, but you could also add something like based on heuristic, perhaps, or like or as Lydia says, inferred from.
Infer from exactly.
That might be the proper in this case.
But can I combine that with reference URL?
Hmm, I'm not sure exactly what the inferred from is, what data type it is. Is that an item?
I think so. Let's see. No, that's not how it's spelled.
Item. We
No,
have
I'm
a
in the wrong
discussion
place
going
to
on
begin
here.
with.
Not sure there is a consensus. Inferred from is when it's stated on the other item, so
Yeah,
maybe.
exactly. So if I would have read this in a book, for example, I could.
Yeah.
If I would have seen the list of papers in a table and from that assumed this, I could probably do this.
But if you check the property constraints on based on heuristic, there might be a suggestion in there that
Ah,
because that is one that where you can say like inferred from title or something like that. So it could be like inferred from list or and I think there's a lot of in the property constraints there are actually a long list of good values there.
let's see.
Or did I misremember that? Looks like I
From
misremembered
title,
that.
from abstract.
I had the idea that was much longer.
Is there a C also here for related property? Yeah, the one. Okay, no, I'm just gonna go. I wanted to see this discussed. But you had this orchard great way. When it is orc ID, you can actually say that
Mm-hmm.
and say that that's there. And then we just copy the actual identifier and go with that. But I still need to add a retrieve date. And I do not have that fancy. This is always the case. Jan always got the fancy stuff. There we go. Okay, because this is something I have been scratching my head over a few times myself. Um, okay, so that's at least one person that would be discovered in the original query. I'm actually gonna go ahead and share this in case someone wants to work from it. Something I like to do is always to copy a similar query and then you switch out the terms. So I'm just gonna drop the short URL for this query here in case someone wants it for moving on. I do want to actually show a little bit of a visualization as well because the query interface is amazingly good at that. So on the same topic, I want to go back to my original query. Let's see. No, I want the one of people. I think here we go. So here we got people with occupation geologist, but I want to actually visualize this by how many occupation statements does each person also have. So I want to person and then I just want any occupation. And what I can do then is that I repeat this. Let's see, I'm gonna remove that one so everything can be seen. P106 patient, and here you say occup. No, okay, fight me. Occupation, and if I now select occupation as well, we can see what happens is that for each person, we got all of their occupation in a new column here, and they are just repeated. They aren't affected by distinct here either, because the duplicate that's checked is actually each row itself. Interestingly, we got a completely different result here. I'm not sure why. I guess the sorting was impacted. So let's count the occupation. Count it as its version in plural. Even and if I just run this, we will see it will say this very common error, bad aggregate. And that's because, as you saw previously, we got each person in multiple rows for each occupation. But when we are counting something, it usually means that we want to smash those rows together. And that's the type of smashing is the aggregation here. And we need to find that with group by. So let's see, we want to have our rows first merged with persons, person labels, and lastly occupations. No, we don't need that because count. So if I run this no time, oh,
You
we
still
still
have
have
the
a bad one.
occupation.
Oh, yes, I'm still selecting it. There we go. And now it smashes all the persons with the same ID and the same label together, and therefore we get this list. Okay, so another note here is that we get them in random order. I want them sorted here, so we get the one with the most occupations first. And I'm just gonna say order by, and then say occu. Have I misspelled it all the time? No. And so order by S. No, descending. Ask is default. Yes.
Ooh,
So we got, oh, they have the same number here, 14 each. But okay, I also wanted to visualize this because it's one of the main features of the Wikidata query service. And here's a lovely example. We have a lot of results here, so they are just merged. Let's quickly fix that with a limit. I just want the 20 most. Here we go, and then let's show the bar chart. Yes, much more readable. And of course, you're probably already seen it throughout the leveling up days, and you're gonna see more of it. But you can do all kinds of things. You can do image grid maps, um, and
does
so
this
on.
one work with bubble chart?
I think so. Yes. Let's quickly showcase that. Yes, here's the bubble chart. Maybe that's even more intriguing here. Um, and lastly, before I'm finished, I'm gonna share this query in case someone wants to modify it or build upon it or anything like that. So let's go. There we go. And I think that's it from me.
All right, very nice. And I think we managed to answer a lot of questions and ask a couple of questions as well. One question we forgot to ask, which we should have started with, is there anything specific you want to see next week? Because we still have some time to adjust for what you want to see. And if you don't have anything specific, it might be more climate or it might be public organizations. Those are topics that we usually come back to.
I could imagine a lot of subjects myself.
Yes. But if you have anything, you're both still have can put things into the chat, or you can just contact us. We're on Telegram or on Mastodon or on the wikis, of course.
Yeah,
And you see if we remove this banner, which one is active? This one. You'll see our usernames there. It's Ainali and Abe98. So you'll find our user pages on Wikidata.
and we also got this page, which the current link goes to, which is the list of episodes we have done throughout the years. And use that discussion page as well in case you want to use on Wiki.
Yeah. And if you go to the playlist on YouTube, which is linked from that page, there's also chapters, so you can jump around in the episodes to go to a specific thing. And we usually write something, query doing this, starting here, and something like that. So can be quite a handy feature to both use the table on Wiki to see which episode do I want to go into, and then go to that episode on YouTube to jump exactly to the thing where you want to see.
It's incredibly useful. I use it all the time myself when I
Yes.
know we have done this sometimes. I can't remember how I did it. I go
Yeah,
to
yeah,
YouTube, look at
yeah.
Jarl and me for a while.
Yes. All right. And did we have anything? Query for all items related to. All right. So that's one.
We're gonna check that one out.
And will we start our Saturday lives again? We'll see how often we can get. It has been a lot of things going on, so less time. We might
I wouldn't
need.
say we have ended it, so to say. We just
No.
took a break. We
I
will
think
do
we were
it.
just lucky to do it, be able to do it weekly for a while
Yeah,
in the start. But maybe we should have a monthly ambition or something like that. Might be more realistic.
yeah, or bi-weekly
Yes,
at
something like
least.
that. But
Yeah,
a very fair and good question.
yeah, indeed,
But with that, I say we know that we're going to be back next Saturday. And until
indeed.
then, happy
Happy
editing.
editing.